I have to ask, when you say you don't like Obi-Wan in the movies,
Mm.
are we talking Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan and his, episodes 1, 2, and 3? Or are we talking Alec Guinness Obi-Wan and episodes 4, 5, and 6?
I don't even really picture him as Obi-Wan. I picture only Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I don't picture Alec McGuinness. He's not Obi-Wan to me.
We are officially fighting. Welcome to the 42 Podcast, where we discuss life together, looking for answers to life, the universe, and, well, everything else. Here are your hosts, Rob and Lindsay. Good morning, Lindsay.
Hey, Roberto. How are ya?
Good. So, I told you I had a plan for the episode this morning.
Yeah, you were very clandestine about it.
Yeah, you had to agree to not knowing what we were going to talk about.
Yes, which I was more than happy to agree to, because that meant you were in charge and I didn't have to think about anything, which is nice.
Well, now the fun part of all of this is that as we were talking and getting our stuff set up, and I still haven't told you what we're actually talking about this morning,
Mm-hmm.
You have named this episode, and I am sticking to this name. Like, this is the name of what this episode is. And what did you accidentally name this one?
I said it was the Spanish Inquisition.
But why do you know the Spanish Inquisition?
Why do I know it?
Yes, why do you know it?
Okay, well, I'm
a psychopath.
And I have a strange fascination with that time period.
Yeah, it was a really rough time in history, not a shining moment of Christ's love in the church.
No, certainly not. Jesus loves you! Let's crush your ankles until you tell us what we want to know about Jesus and sin and stuff.
Yeah, wrong way to go about that one. But anyway, alright. We are not having a Spanish Inquisition, but the reason I know about the Spanish Inquisition is because, growing up, I watched Monty Python.
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
And the guys from Monty Python jumping in cardinal red uniforms and, having a Spanish Inquisition on something entirely stupid and ridiculous and hilarious. And I'm going to have to watch the sketch because I haven't watched it for a while, but there's one where they're like in a restaurant and suddenly they jump in and, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition, and that's why I know it.
Okay.
Because then as I then got older, I was like, well, what is a Spanish Inquisition? Oh, God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's perfect because I just want to do an episode where we catch up on the geek outness that is one of our favorite fandoms, Star Wars.
Okay. Very good.
Okay?
Yes.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because, I don't know, you might have set a precedent and pattern for us in some small way with that reflection episode and when we did the Star Wars arc back in the May of 2021.
Like using Star Wars as a
escapism.
Yeah. Like our med bay. Our med bay is Star Wars. Let's go recover emotionally with some Star Wars conversations, and then we'll get back to wrenching tissues and, sadness or whatever.
Yeah, and it hasn't been a bad week or month, but my headspace is weird, and I feel like I've tripped over myself every opportunity I could this week, and then I decided that while feeling emotionally like I was tripping over myself, that I should kick a box of books and get my big toe to be black and blue and hurt.
Books don't like to be kicked.
No, they like to be red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could also use a little vacation because I'm potty training my son this week, and he has a fairly big potty, but he finds the coordination to, instead of defecating in his potty, to poop in like these tiny little toys behind chairs. And like it's like a sick game. Where are we gonna find feces now? It's fantastic. I picked the worst time to stop drinking. I can't tell you. It's been real fun.
I don't miss the potty training. Okay, so this also helps in context to explain one of your husband's social media posts this week that I saw, and I was like, I feel like there's a deeper, richer context, but I'm not sure I want to ask.
Yeah.
Because he was like, he defined fatherhood as walking around in a Batman mask carrying a pot of pee.
Yeah.
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 And now I understand. And now I'm going, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's being a parent. And, I don't miss potty training.
Yeah, you don't realize that you've gotten lazy as a parent until you have to, like, sit around and wait for your kid to pee and poop. Or like, where is Miles? It's really quiet. Where is he? Yeah, it's...
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We're celebrating my son's 12th birthday today.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking back and wow, I've had a... Oh gosh, I guess I'm going to share this. I got a chance right before Christmas to volunteer in my daughter's school and go in and help, and it was one of they call it Grinch Days, and so different classrooms had different activities. They bring parents in to help with the activities. So I went and I did this, and I was talking to the two other mothers who were there in the classroom with me,
like
and
how you phrased
we're
that.
talking. Yeah. And, well, yeah, I was the only father, so that's always interesting. And as they're talking, I think they were slightly older than me. I'm mid-30s. Everyone pegs me somewhere in my 40s, but I'm mid-30s. And, they made the comment that they are so happy that they're not old enough to have a kid in middle school yet. And I'm standing there going, I'm in my mid-30s. My son is in middle school. And yeah, okay. Whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
But they were both a little bit older than me. Late 30s to early 40s, I think. But I got a kick out of it. So, random weird aside. But yes, potty training and weird off-step weeks and stubbed toes. Today feels like a good day to take a breath. And hey, if you're not into Star Wars, we get it. But what are the things that you do to take a breath? To sit down, unwind, and just blah.
Yep. We started a tradition. So this time around, we're watching Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, with our kids. We haven't watched the second episode yet, because last night we were busy. We couldn't, but we're going to tonight. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're killing me because they did a really big thing in that I wanted to talk to you about.
I'm so sorry.
They brought in an obscure, only in the books and comic books character who, as soon as they brought him, I can't tell you.
Please, just tell me.
I can't. I cannot tell you. As soon as they brought this character in, I fangirled. I was just like, eee! Seeing this character brought in, because he's someone who I'm familiar with because of the comics. I don't know if you will be, but for me, it was a big reveal.
Cool.
I was just like, Now, he's still been a big, the internet forums blew up because you're familiar with, and you're like, that is not, no, who is this? Why is this different? This is like this, yeah, this is weird.
Uh-oh.
And I like it. Now, for me, I like it because he has background with Boba Fett. And I'm excited to see what happens with that. Oh, man. So, yes, Book of Boba Fett came out.
Mm-hmm.
And you've watched the first episode so far. And
yes,
us talking right now, the second episode is the one that's come out. The third one's coming out this week, which I cannot wait for.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, so if you haven't watched it and you don't want spoilers for the first episode, because unfortunately someone didn't watch the second one yet.
I'm sorry. I had to go to a Christmas party last night.
Humbug!
Yeah.
The 12 days of Christmas are over. I can say humbug.
Okay. So, my thought on Boba Fett. Okay. So, Boba Fett gets eaten by the Sarlacc.
Right.
And Jabba the Hutt's barge, with all his important people supposedly maybe on it, gets blown up. So now there's this vacuum. And Boba Fett sort of walks in with nobody except one person and's like, okay, I'm in charge now. Which I don't really get. What makes him in charge? Why didn't the vacuum get filled with other people? And why did they just let him? Like, I don't get it. Usually when people take over something, it's with like a small army or or at least a crew. He doesn't even have a crew. So I don't really get how he's in control of anything. Like, why did they just let him do that when it's just him and one other person? You know? Like, what about the person with the assassins? Somebody sent assassins to kill him. Why isn't that person in charge?
Oh, crap. You haven't seen that one yet, have you? You haven't... Oh, my goodness. You haven't seen episode 2. Yeah, because episode 1 ends when Fennec Shan captures the one assassin.
Yeah.
So you haven't seen her bringing him back and what happens and is revealed because of that.
Right, right.
All right. Well, I mean, all right. You saw Mandalorian season 2, right?
Yeah.
And did you see the post-credit scene at the end of Mandalorian season 2?
I don't know what happened. I
Oh,
don't know.
okay.
I'm not sure. I don't really recall. Maybe, but I don't think I...
It's the one that set up the Book of Boba Fett and revealed, hey, there's this whole new TV show that we actually did not announce.
Yes.
But it's coming.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because that's the scene where Boba Fett walks in and he kills... Who is it? It's Bib Fortuna? Or something like that?
The Twi'lek.
Yeah. Who helped Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi and has now taken over Jabba's empire.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the big question that we have to sit with is how extensive was Jabba's empire? Because with all the precursor stuff that they lay out, did you ever finish The Bad Batch?
I'm still trying to get through the Clone Wars. I like it, but it's just slow. And I watch like an episode every once in a while. I'm like, I really got to get through this. And
I will say this.
Disney Plus. I, for one, salute our new corporate overlords.
If you're listening, please add an option on the Clone Wars to do it in chronological order. Please. Just be kind.
They're interesting, but they're so disjointed, and it's like, cool, but this doesn't teach me anything about like the overall thing. And I kind of don't want it to be over, because I like Anakin being nice and a good boy, and it's sad that he turns bad, and it's sort of all driving to that, and that'll be sad when it's over, but I do want to actually watch The Bad Batch.
So the Clone Wars does set up a lot better that there's this whole Huttese empire that is, in the original trilogy, if you count it, In New Hope, they introduced Jabba in one of the remastered. I don't remember which remastered they introduced Jabba
The one
in.
where he's talking to Han Solo at the bottom of the Millennium Falcon. Yeah.
And it's badly CGI'd. It's weird. They use the original footage, and Jabba was a person, not the Hutt that he is. And so they actually superimposed Jabba from Return of the Jedi into that scene. But Return of the Jedi Jabba, I think what makes that work is it's a puppet. It's a huge puppet. There were 3 guys inside of that puppet making it work. And I think that's what made that moment of a larger-than-life...
presence. Yeah.
Creepy. Yeah. Like, and I know there's a whole weird thing with Leia and the slave bikini and all of that, but like I look at that scene and I'm like, there's a huge allegory to this that I think we miss. Because you've got this slug, this literal slug creep that makes Leia dress up in a bikini outfit, and then we've kind of, okay, weirdness aside, but that is what sells you that Jabba is just good.
Yep.
The introduction in New Hope, you're like, huh? If you have no background to who he is, huh?
No.
It just doesn't work.
With CGI, it's really hard to get that weight. It's off. You just know it's off when you compare it to the actual presence of a real thing.
Right, but not only that, but you have the build-up of, in Empire Strikes Back, you know that there's a bounty out on Han. And you have all the bounty hunters who are now introduced, which that's part of the reason that Boba became so popular, is when they introduce these bounty hunters, they're quiet, they're mysterious, nobody has any idea who they are. You're left with the one scene, which, for me, as a kid, when I watched Star Wars, this is part of the reason why I'm like, okay, I really do like Boba. That scene where Darth Vader stops, looks at Boba and says, "No disintegrations," and then just moves on. And you're like, what's a disintegration? What is this bounty hunter that he's like, melting people? And so you get this image in your head of what this bounty hunter must be doing, that Darth Vader is looking at him and saying,
right,
you can't be that evil.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. Pause. What? Darth Vader said you can't be that evil? So for me, those two aspects, that introduction of Jabba in Return of the Jedi, that is that creepiness, that slug that embodies, and the silence but also pause of Boba Fett, I think those two things are huge in the whole arc and build-up that we're at now with the Book of Boba Fett. Sorry. I kind of went on a tirade there. What are you thinking?
I'm just interested in how the heck he goes about this, I guess.
I know.
And I like the tension between, do I like him or do I not like him? Because he's kind of a bad person. But I get it. I get where he's coming from.
So that was actually my next question to you. Is Boba Fett a good guy or a bad guy?
I think it's really mixed. I mean, was Han a good guy or a bad guy at the beginning of Star Wars? I think he was a little mixed.
See, I'll fight you on this. I think he was a good guy.
But he did bad things. So, I mean, how do you define...
You as a good person, have you never done a bad thing?
Well, wait a second. Oh my gosh.
This is not the Spanish Inquisition.
Is there such a thing as a good guy or a bad guy? Go ahead. Go for that one. That's the question. There you go. There's no such thing as a bad guy. Is there any such thing as a bad guy besides Palpatine? Is there any unmixed bad guy? No, they're all pretty mixed. But Han Solo redeems himself, but he's a bad guy at the beginning. He's a bad guy. He's in it for himself. That's it. But he changes because he meets Lady Leia, and makes friendships and real connections, and that's kind of what saves his character. As far as Boba Fett, I think he's really wounded.
And I think we're seeing the character arc and redemption in Boba Fett. I really do. Because he's not a bad guy, but he's not a good guy. He is complicated.
So isn't the Mandalorian. He was not a good guy, per se. He was trying to make money, and he was willing to do whatever he had to do to stay by himself, to isolate himself, and to make money, and keep doing what he's doing. And it wasn't really even about the money, in a way. It was about the routine, I think.
Nope.
So, it wasn't about the money. If it was about the money, he could have retired.
I'll fight you on this one. I will fight you and win.
Okay. Tell me your opinion.
All right. What did Mando do with the money he got?
He improved his armor. Not his comfort. He didn't, make his apartment cushy. He didn't, improve his ride.
Right.
He improved his way of making a living. That's it. His identity as a Mandalorian?
Think about it.
He put it into his identity
Getting closer
as a Mandalorian and making himself feel more legitimate, but it had nothing to do with the money.
It had everything to do with one thing. This is the way. It was the Mandalorian code as laid out in his, what did they call it? I can't remember what they called the creed. But his group of other Mandalorians that were hiding in the sewers. They called it something very specific, and I can't remember. Oh my gosh. That's going to drive me a little wonky. Whatever. But the group of Mandalorians that he was in hiding with, when he got the Beskar, he got new armor. He upgraded his armor fully. But he made sure that a chunk of it was set aside for the Foundlings. He made sure that he followed that code, that ideology. So for him, it wasn't about the money, it was about the ideology. The people that he was associated with that lived by the ideology and the warrior's code. And that's part of the story that you see playing out in Season 1 and then Season 2 is how does he make peace with this very strict, very rigid warrior's code. And then we introduce these other characters. And this is a piece that I love. We introduce the other Mandalorians in Season 2. And the scene where they go and they sit down and they start talking and they all take their helmets off. What happens?
He's shocked.
It's a crisis of faith. Because Mando has put everything, every bit that he has, into this code, into this faith. And now it's shaken in a way he's not prepared for. And we, as the audience sitting there, the major uber geeks, know that, oh my goodness,
Ren?
What's her name? Gosh, I should have maybe brushed up. Bo-Katan, who was played by, oh my goodness, I love her because of Battlestar Galactica, and it'll come to me later, but you have Bo-Katan, who was the leader of Mandalore, forgive me for spoilers, at the end of the Clone Wars. No, it's not end of Clone Wars, it's the end of Rebels. It's Bo-Katan. Is it? Yeah, it's Bo-Katan. Because she helps with the uprising. So at the end of that, you have Bo-Katan, who is a foundational leader and character for the Mandalorians, and she's shaking Mando's faith in a way that he's not prepared for. So everything for Mando, the story centers around his faith that is first in this ideology of this is the way, and the Warrior's Code, the Mandalorian Code. But then the introductions and pullback, where at the end of Season 2, you see him taking his helmet off in front of Grogu. In front of all of the others, in front of Luke. And you're just like, So, to me, everything within that story arc, it's not about him and his money going towards just him continuing in this existence of being alone. It's him continuing in this existence of indoctrinated dogma that this is the way. And coming out of that and going from indoctrinated dogma to a fuller, richer individual within still being a Mandalorian.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
I win. Yay! Which, I'm really trying to avoid going this route. But I have to. I just have to, because it's the setup. This is what I see in the movement of faith. This is what I have seen in the movement of faith that you've gone through, in the one that is the deconstruction testimonies of others, where it's people are coming out of the religious dogmas and indoctrinations and finding richer, fuller personhood in Christ and community.
Yeah.
And still being Christian, but not in the dogmatic way.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I really do love The Mandalorian and Boba Fett, or Book of Boba Fett right now, because I feel like that's the story they're telling. And breathing life into.
Okay, one thing. Remember in that episode, in The Mandalorian, I think it's the second season, with Timothy Oliphant? It's the one where they're that town on Tatooine way out in the middle of nowhere, and they're those big creatures. I thought he found Boba Fett's armor in there, in one of those crawlers. It wasn't that Boba Fett's?
Yeah. Where's your confusion?
Well, didn't Boba Fett have it in the beginning of the Book of Boba Fett? Or was that different armor?
Ah, okay. So we'll go through the timeline of armor. Hang on. Bo-Katan is played by Katie Sackhoff. Sorry. I knew I'd remember it.
Okay.
And by remember it, get a moment to actually look it up on IMDb. Boba Fett's armor is actually a kind of argued how it came to be and passed around and all of that. Yeah, there's a slight argument in all of this, but you saw the beginning of Book of Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
As soon as Boba gets out of the Sarlacc, what happens?
He gets robbed by the little monsters.
It's stupidly hilarious. Like, watching that scene, I'm like, oh, I feel bad. He's being beat up by a bunch of Jawas. Yeah. Who then steal his armor and put it on the Sandcrawler.
Right. And that's where Timothy Oliphant finds it?
Right. So the Jawas steal Boba Fett's armor after finding him half dead, having killed and getting out of the Sarlacc pit. Which I'm actually really happy and excited that they showed that.
Yeah.
In the opening of episode 1, where it's like, yes, no more theories, no more question marks. There it is. There's him and how he got out.
Right.
Which was just, I loved it. It was, yeah. But it was awesome.
Yeah. Where was the light coming from, though? The light.
Well, they're probably in the studio and they have overhead lights. I don't know. And that's one of those things that it's probably better not to ask and ruin the magic and just accept.
Yeah.
Because...
Yeah. They should have had him turn on his special light in his mask. Like, he's got a special light in his mask, and then he sees the stormtrooper, and then he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but then it would have kind of ruined that ambiance of the whole scene. At the same time, yes, it would have been probably more accurate, but you got that ambiance of that scene and that moment where you're seeing all of the tentacle and slime and grossness, and he's in pain, and then you're like, oh, look, stormtrooper that's melting, and it was a beautiful scene, and yes, fine, more accurate, he turns on a headlamp, and oh, look, I can save myself, but they needed the light. I think I think that helped create the wholeness of that scene for you to take in and enjoy.
Yeah.
So I get accuracy, but I think it was right for them to do it the way they did. But, so he gets beat up by those Jawas. They put the armor on the Sandcrawler. The sheriff of the town, Timothy Oliphant's character, finds the armor, buys it with whatever it was that he had found when he was escaping the town on the back of that speeder, and then just wears it. Mandalorian gets it from him. The chain of custody goes all that full circle with that.
So that means that the beginning of Boba Fett, he's already got his armor back?
Beginning of Boba Fett.
Does he have his
picks
armor
up.
back?
Yes, it picks up after Mandalorian Season 2.
Okay.
So that's, timeline-wise, that's where it is. Where it's, okay, Mandalorian Season 2, they're on the Star Cruiser, they fight off all of the super battle droids, and Grogu is taken by Luke. Everybody disperses from there. And this is now following where Boba Fett disperses to. He goes back to Tatooine and takes over Jabba's empire. Now, I have a theory. I've got a little more supporting on my side of things. Sorry. But I think that part of what we're going to see by the end of Book of Boba Fett is that Boba somehow is going to restore, rebuild, or build up the Sand People.
Yeah.
Because what they're playing with is, at the end of Season 1, or not Season 1, Episode 1, he's beginning to be ingrained in their culture.
And that precedent is set by the Mandalorian trying to learn their language and trying to show that they're people and they're not animals. What are you laughing at?
That scene was hilarious in Mandalorian.
Yeah.
When he first gets there and he teams up with the other bounty hunter and, he's talking all tough and, we can take him. And
yeah.
he's like, the Tusken Raider's already standing right next to him. He's like, yeah, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
I cracked up in that scene in The Mandalorian. I was like, yeah. That new bounty hunter is an idiot, and that scene showed it.
Yep.
Perfectly. And it showed that the Tusken Raiders, they're weird, but they're always a threat. You don't know where to place them.
You want to put them in a non-animal category. They are not animals. They're not savages, deep down. And the books tried to do that too, a couple times, where they show the humanity of them, their children, or they show them helping each other and helping Anakin. They help Anakin in the book, The Phantom Menace. They help Anakin. I don't remember if they do that in the movie.
No, they don't. Now, an interesting little thing that I'm curious about to see if they do this in Book of Boba Fett. In the extended literature and the comics and the books, you find that there are a handful of tribes who offer sacrifice to a dark god. It's Vader. Because at like one or two different points, Vader has gone back to Tatooine just to slaughter Tusken Raiders.
Really? Just for fun?
Because he's mad.
Well, I know he's mad, but... Well, you're right. But mad because of his mother.
Right. You gotta think. I mean, in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, that's the point that they show this very dark, bitter note. This first little, whoa. He stepped outside of the lines. He's walking the edge of that line, but this is the first time he steps.
He kills innocent children and women sand people.
He kills everyone.
Yeah.
So that's the very first time in the whole of the, 9-episode arc where we see Anakin clearly step past being a good Jedi.
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, that's Episode 2. There's nothing between Episode 1 and 2 in movies or shows in the Clone Wars, they show moments of it where, again, he kind of puts a toe past, maybe a foot past, but it's not always that clear, vivid step past.
Yeah.
The show's really... Attack of the Clones really builds a better empathetic connection to Anakin, so that when you get to episode 3 and you watch that fall, that fall hurts a lot more. Right. Because you're like, come on, no! Because you...
Yeah.
And that's what I do love about the Clone Wars shows, is you really do start feeling empathy towards Anakin. You're like, yes, maybe he can get away with the secret love with Padme for the entirety of his life. No. Yeah. Maybe he can just always kind of be that kid. No.
So, I am reading a book right now called Clone Wars Gambit. And it's like a kind of a trilogy, sort of, but it's written by the same woman named Karen Miller. But these 2 books, Gambit and Stealth, have a lot to do with Anakin trying to toe that line of being faithful to Padme and being her husband, and trying to hide it from everybody. And just the fact that he can do it at all is just a testament, I think, to Palpatine's crazy power, because it was so obvious. He's so obvious about it. And all the Jedi around him are like, something's off with him, but I can't figure what is going on. Nobody can figure it out. Nobody knows. But everybody kind of gets something's wrong, but they dance around it, and other characters will come in, and other Jedi will come in and be like, guys, Anakin, though. And then, like, either that Jedi dies or gets put out of the picture somehow, and it's just allowed to keep going. And you're like, come on!
See, and I think that's the beauty of the extended literature. Like, the movies have this 2.5-hour window, roughly, to tell you a huge chunk of story.
Yeah.
And you have timelines that are compressed. You have moments that have to be missed. You have social interaction and cues. And
yeah,
if someone was to make a movie of your life right now, all 30 years, how much stuff are they going to miss?
Right.
In trying to put 30 years of stuff.
How much would be misinterpreted? Like, okay, in the movies, I don't like Obi-Wan. I think he's extremely boring and stuffy. I don't really like him. But in the books, I've loved him because I get him a lot more. It's not until reading the books that I understand Obi-Wan. And now I get him and I love him. But in the movie, he's so annoying and prudish and by the book, and you don't know why. It's just he seems stuffy and inflexible. But in this one book I read called Wild Space, which is another Clone Wars book, I think it's written by Karen Miller or Travis, maybe something Karen Travis or Karen Miller. But your heart breaks for Obi-Wan. You get him so much more.
Okay, I have to ask, when you say you don't like Obi-Wan in the movies, are we talking Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan and his, episodes 1, 2, and 3? Or are we talking Alec Guinness Obi-Wan and episodes 4, 5, and 6?
I don't even really picture him as Obi-Wan. I picture only Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I don't picture Alec Guinness. He's not Obi-Wan to me at all. It's Obi-Wan. Oh. It's Ewan.
Okay. All right. We are officially fighting.
Okay.
You have taken the glove off and slapped me in the face.
I'm sorry. That was me.
Because if there is a character that I love... Hey, hello!
Yes. That's Rob.
5 minutes later.
So you're fighting me because Alec Guinness is absolutely
no,
Obi-Wan,
I don't think he's absolutely Obi-Wan. But If you were to offer me to pick and live out the character arc of any of the Star Wars characters, I'm picking Obi-Wan. That, I love Obi-Wan. I am excited for Obi-Wan's TV show. I am excited when Obi-Wan shows up. Alright, again, that first introduction to Star Wars, for me. I don't actually really like Luke. Not in the first...
He's fussy.
Not in the original trilogy. I start liking Luke in the later trilogy, the last trilogy, when he's a little more established. Right around Return of the Jedi, I start liking Luke. Yeah, post-Yoda Luke, I start liking him. We'll say it that way. Where I'm like, okay, he's growing on me. He's a character that's developing. You have that deep moment at the end of Empire Strikes Back. You know, Luke, I am your father. That brings this whole element of, again, crisis and transition and maturity, so the character develops. Yeah, okay, fine. Luke starts growing on me then. But Obi-Wan is introduced in A New Hope. And when he's introduced in A New Hope, and this is why I like him, this is where I start identifying and wanting to know more and enjoying his character, is because when they introduce him, he's this magic space wizard. And he finds this whiny kid in the middle of the desert and says, you can be a magic space wizard too!
You're a Jedi, Luke. Yeah.
I'm gonna entirely train wreck us. It's why I love Rubius Hagrid in Harry Potter. Rubius shows up, and is that not the best way to introduce Harry to the wizarding world? It comes crashing through the front door, literally, and says,
You're a wizard, Harry.
Or no, wait, are you a Harry wizard? It is the best way, because there's mystery, there's larger-than-life aspects that are brought in. And that's what Alec Guinness does with Obi-Wan in A New Hope, because it doesn't come crashing in through the front door. But Alec Guinness's character, the prestige that he brings as a classically trained actor, to the moment, because you've got all this, like, the story feels weird. And then Magic Space Wizard shows up, and you're like, hello there. My son has picked that up. It is so funny. He just walks around, and, you know, he picks up a book. Hello there. My son is Obi-Wan. Okay, I love this. It's the weirdest thing. I've pointed it out to him, and he's like, yeah, I know. I love it. It's great. But that's what Alec Guinness does, because he introduces the depth of storyline. He introduces you can be a magic space wizard too.
Right.
Yay!
I'm with you.
And he hands Luke the most deadly weapon in the galaxy for him to point at his eyeball and be like, "What's this?" You know, he introduces the element that, wait a minute, you can wave your hand and say these aren't the droids you're looking for?
Yeah.
What? He has these
Well, he's likable in those movies. He's fine there. I'm with you.
He is. But then, and again, there's always value in this. When a character dies but doesn't die, greater allegorical conversation we can have on that. So, you're, at the halfway point of A New Hope, and Obi-Wan's just like, oop, I'm dead. And I've sent this to you before. We've talked about this before on podcast as well, where there's a CGI'd version of that battle out there that someone put together that makes it feel a lot more like the battle at the end of episode 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's out there. That's really good to watch, and I appreciate that, because with where that battle plays out, you're like, it's a little sleepy, but, you know, magic swords and space wizards, there's a dark one, there's a good one. And then Obi-Wan dies, which only adds to it when you're at the end of A New Hope, and Obi-Wan's talking to Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Magic Space Wizard not dead? And then you get into episode 5 and Magic Space Wizard's there. Again, in person, on Hoth.
Right.
And so, in that original trilogy, for me as a kid, when they introduce Obi-Wan, and he just doesn't go away, he's Magic Space Wizard, he is what Luke is trying to move towards, that has me sold. That is the character that I love.
Right, I like him.
Oh, you're winding back your original fighting.
No, I'm not.
Glove slapping,
no,
we're dueling words.
I'm saying I like, but I don't know him. Like you said, he's like half of one movie, and then he's gone. So we don't know who he is. We know who
that
Ewan McGregor
mystery.
Is. Whatever, but fine. But we know Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan. We know him, and because we are intimate with him, so to speak, he's annoying. We don't know Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan enough to be annoyed by him. He's like practically a god. He's like, woohoo! And so you don't.
But that's
that's
the beauty, though, of what Ewan McGregor does in episodes 1, 2, and 3 is you start getting these other pieces. Episode 1, you're introduced to Anakin as a kid, but you're introduced to like 20-year-old-ish Obi-Wan, who still has a master.
Yes.
And this development... Oh, kid alert.
5 minutes later.
You seem to think that I can't think he's annoying and he be a great character at the same time, which is not true, I don't think.
You can think he's annoying. You can't, but that's part of the storytelling method that they've used with him, because what they've done is introduced elements of his story in episodes 1, 2, and 3, played out by Ewan McGregor, who I do love, and I think he was the perfect choice.
I do too, I like him a lot.
Right, and I think they're going to grow him perfectly into the Alec Guinness version of Obi-Wan. But part of what they've done is they've kept what is episodes 4, 5, and 6, who is this Magic Space Wizard mystery, with Obi-Wan in episodes 1, 2, and 3, as they flesh that out a little bit more. And even when you start watching a Clone Wars, there are still those elements, but you start getting more and more empathy towards his character arc. And, oh my goodness, it's Rebels where, yeah, you've watched all of Rebels, right?
Yeah.
It's Rebels where you get that final moment with Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, right?
Yeah.
Which is incredibly disappointing when you think about it, but as you analyze that whole fight, it's the raw anger and insanity of Darth Maul, and it's the wisdom and calmness of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
In that Alec Guinness state, because when you look at the stances Obi-Wan takes to fight, it's enough to, if you've ever been, I wrestled in high school, so, a stance is very important. It's how you start reading your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So the stances he takes is what he's communicating intentionally as the read for Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
So that fight becomes a lot more in-depth than the surface level of, it was done in 30 seconds. I think that's important. But it's out of that you get that final little moment of transition between Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan and Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan, I think, in that fight.
Yeah, I think they did a good job there. Yep.
But you have elements in the Clone Wars that you've probably not gotten to yet, that you're like, oh, that actually explains a lot more. There's a love interest that you didn't know about. There's why he's sold out to this way. And the end of episode 3, and this is where it's hard, and this is why I'm looking at the Obi-Wan series coming up and excited, but the end of episode 3 leaves you with Obi-Wan walking into that crisis of faith. The Jedi way is all he has ever known, and the whole thing burnt to the ground because of his Padawan.
Yes, I get it. I don't disagree with any of what you're saying, but I still think he's annoying. And I still think that he annoys everybody.
No.
Yes,
I
he
love
does.
him.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Because he can't let anybody in. He can't care about anybody. It's against the rules. I don't know. It's annoying.
But that's just it. Hold on,
annoying.
that's just it though. That's what you find is this dogmatic character who at the end of his main, movie story arc and the context that is given goes from not being able to care but is given direct care of a child and said, "Don't screw it up." The whole hope is now on the fact that you have had a crisis of faith, rooted in the fact that you cannot care and love for people, but hey, you gotta go and from a distance.
But that very thing, that's part of the tragedy of the whole story, is that, we can't love people. We can't love people, not really. We can't let people in. We can't let people, mourn for their mothers, or come to terms with their grief, or feel things. That whole thing is the whole reason, in a big way, that Anakin turns out the way he does. It's also why we don't know Obi-Wan. And at the end of Revenge of the Sith, this should be the lesson that we learn, is that maybe the Jedi way is wrong. Maybe it's better to, go to therapy and talk about the fact that we really miss our moms, and maybe we should go visit and see how things are going. Or maybe we shouldn't have taken a 9-year-old from his mother to begin with. Or, maybe, so I think there was lessons to be learned that weren't learned.
But that's what's happening with Obi-Wan. Again, is he's having that crisis of faith and learning in ways that are going to be, tough, but it helps develop who you get in episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. I'm excited. And like I said,
mysterious, aloof.
It's the books, though. I mean, it's the books that made me fall in love with Obi-Wan. The movies, no. But the books, I really like Obi-Wan. Because you can hear what he's thinking. You can see that he is actually a human being inside. He's not just protocol or sarcasm. Protocol dripping with sarcasm all the time. There's a soul in there.
That is part of what I love about Obi-Wan, is that deep, sarcastic, side of him.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
Still, you need to read Wild Space. Clone Wars Wild Space. It's really, really good. It's about Bail Organa and Obi-Wan get, through a series of shenanigans, marooned on a Sith death trap planet. And from the atmosphere, the Force is sort of stripped away from Obi-Wan, which is it's like a heroin addict, cold turkey from heroin. It's devastating to him. It's devastating to him and killing him. And it's fascinating to see what is left of Obi-Wan without the Force. And it explains a lot about who Obi-Wan is and how he is super annoying at the beginning of the book, but it's just a great story. It's a fantastic story. He can feel the Force some, but it's to a large extent he's powerless, and it's pretty cool story.
I'll have to check it out.
Yes, you will.
When it comes down to it, I'm excited for the TV show and what they do with that, though.
Me too.
I think that's going to be amazing, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be...
I'm excited
It's going to be
about
something
that.
else. Yeah.
I'm more excited about that, really, than Boba Fett, but...
Really?
Yeah. I'm more excited about that. Because Boba Fett, I don't know who Boba Fett is. I don't know.
But that's the point of the show, is again, you're finding out who is Boba Fett. Like the whole thing with him and the Tusken Raiders.
I am enjoying it. What I'm seeing, it's cool. I like being in the universe again. I've missed it, but I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan.
All right, I'm going to offer this. I don't think I did, but I'm going to offer one more theory on I'm hoping, I don't know if we will, but I'm hoping there's a very subtle nod to Darth Vader in the Book of Boba Fett.
I hope so. I would like that.
I think in one of the times we're going to see him with the Tusken Raiders.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Vader's already dead at this point.
So like a shrine or
But
something?
Right. Something that is very clearly there's a Tusken Raider shrine to the dark god that is Vader to
like
them.
a paraphernalia, like a jewelry or something?
Just one little, like, brief blipping nod of, oh, Vader! And then it's gone. I would love to see that happen.
Yeah, me too.
I'm hoping that happens. Because, I mean, they do that, oh, gosh. When you watch episode 2 tonight, just look for it because I find it hilarious. It's now a new favorite piece of Star Wars. It has nothing to do, like, with the big reveal of the character who, you know, I'm excited about and was amazed with, but look for the space werewolf in a yellow bikini.
Okay.
There's a space werewolf in a yellow bikini. It's just up on screen for a second, and then it's gone. I saw it in the episode. I was like, what's going on? I rewound, and I cracked up, because it's... Who in their right mind was like, hey, let's take a space werewolf and put it in a yellow bikini?
Why?
It was just one of us.
A werewolf need clothes?
Why is there a space werewolf in a yellow bikini? I don't know. It's just hilarious, and somebody thought it would be funny and did it. So, I think it's funny. Look for that tonight.
Alright.
Yeah. So, I am judging you for having not watched that second episode yet.
We wanted to, but we couldn't. When did it come out last night?
Came out on Wednesday.
On Wednesday it comes out. Okay. We won't be watching them on Wednesdays. We'll probably be watching them on Friday nights because of the kids in school and stuff, but we meant to watch it
That's
last
understandable.
night. But we didn't watch it last night because we had a thing to do. I made a cake and it was super good and it was gluten-free. And I know everybody says like, oh, this, you would never know it was gluten-free. And I'm always like, yeah, right. But no, seriously, it was really good. It wasn't pretty, but it was delicious.
Well, good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got birthday celebrations and all that fun stuff to do. So, yeah, my wife made the ultra secret family chocolate cake recipe. So, the one that can be found on the back of the Hershey's can.
Nice.
Yeah. So, that cake is waiting. I hear the kids stomping around upstairs, so I'm going to get going.
All right. Well, it's been a good diversion.
Yeah, thank you everyone for participating in the moments of diversion. We're going to be getting back into some good stuff next week. But just needed a moment to breathe.
Yeah. All right, well.
Yeah.
You take care. No kicking
Actually,
books. They kick back.
Yeah, they do. Real quick, actually, just as a note for next week's episode, can I give you homework and then I think we need to talk about it? I think this is what we need to talk about next week. Okay. The Netflix movie, Don't Look Up.
Ugh, I don't want to watch that. It just seems so political and annoying.
But I think it'll be a good movie for us to talk about.
Fine.
It's hilarious.
I like the cast.
It's a hard, dark comedy. I lost a night of sleep over it.
I'm just tired of being preached at by hypocrites.
It's not preachy. It's not preachy. It has its moments of preachy, but you'll appreciate it. Okay. It's a very good dark comedy.
So you want to watch this and discuss it next week?
We're gonna discuss it.
I like this assignment because I like movies, so I will watch the heck out of it. I will watch it so hard.
Yeah, it'll be a good discussion.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. So, all right, thanks, Lindsay.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the 42 podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe, and if you want to join in on the conversation, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter to add your voice to the conversation. Thank you.